Hello and welcome to the third episode of my knitting podcast. I'm here today with quite a few finished objects and so many works in progress. Without further ado, let's get started and show you what we've got. So the first finished object I have is my Olga sweater by Petite Knit. This is the one that I said in my last episode I'd probably finish that day, and indeed I did. I just had a little bit of sleeve left to go and it's done. I'm so happy with it. The collar is perhaps the modification that I'm most pleased with. I added in a row or two of double knitting following the tutorial by Superbloom Knits, whose podcast I'm a big fan of. And then I added in a contrast colour stripe as well, so that it would kind of tie in with the rest of the ribbing, especially where you do have the contrast colour before the edges. And I'm so pleased with it. I think the solid colour of the collar in the pattern was putting me off a little bit, even though I really wanted to make this. So I'm very pleased that I've made this modification. It was very easy to do, and I'm so glad that I went with it. I have been wearing this non-stop since I finished it. It's already starting to pill a little bit under the arms, but that is just testament to how much it's been worn. It has been everywhere with me, and it looks good with every outfit. So this is really a workhorse sweater for me, and it's very cozy as well. So thrilled with this. I think I mentioned all the modifications I made in my last podcast episode. I used a mixture of Drops Daisy, this is the red one, in the colour red, and also Sandnes Garn Peer Gynt in the colour Marzipan Tutti Frutti, which I think is my most used yarn this year. I'm using it for 3 projects so far. So that's this one, my Staffin vest, which you've already seen, and my Christmas jumper. More on that later. So I think this is definitely my most used yarn, and definitely the yarn that I'll use the most balls of. I made size 3, which is a size small. I think I usually knit one size down from my recommended size in Petite Knit's patterns, and this works out very well for me. I think I like a little less ease than she does. My torso is quite short, and I think that having a slightly less ease keeps everything in proportion for me. So that's what I did. I have, for reference, a 92 centimetre bust measurement. So yeah, that's the size I chose, one size down from the recommended size. I usually aim for a 44 inch. Sorry about the mix of metric and imperial units. I live in the UK. We don't have a standardised system, really. So I usually aim for a 44 inch bust on my jumpers to go with a 36 inch bust measurement at full chest. So that's the size I went for. Really pleased with it. Will be wearing it as long as I can. Might have to take it off later in the video just because it is so humid here. It's a bank holiday, it's very grey, very rainy, and the city I live in is functionally built on a swamp, so it's always very humid. Next up we have my Gran's birthday present. So I was very lucky to grow up with a knitting grandmother. She's one of my best friends, really. We get on really well, we call each other every week, and for her birthday this year I wanted to knit her something because she's made me things all my life, and if you're a knitter, people don't tend to knit for you, so I thought it would be really special to make her something, and that is this Staffin vest. Isn't it so green? I always think of that scene from Blackadder where Percy, I think, is trying to do some alchemy and make some gold, and he ends up instead with a lump of pure green, and I think that's what was living in my head a lot while I was making this. I also made size 3 for this. That's the same size as the one I made, but the length is quite a lot different. She doesn't have a short torso, so I added in several pattern repeats. This is the length where mine stops, and I added all of this extra, so that's a whole rib section and a whole diamond lattice bobble section. As with my own Staffin vest, I knit down the armholes as written in the pattern and then added in a few extra rows before joining the round, just to give it a little bit more space because I don't like a super tight armhole. So yeah, very pleased with how this has turned out. Haven't managed to send it to her yet, but I'm hoping that I'll see her in person and can give it to her rather than trusting it to the post. This is also knit in Sandnesgarn Peer Gynt, my favourite yarn, as we well know, in the colour Jelly Bean Green, and look how green it is. Let's show you. So green. Yeah, it's coming out a little bit more turquoisey on camera, but it's very kind of bright grass green in person. This is such a fun pattern to knit. This knits up so fast for me because each of the sections is very motivating, and I've got the chart memorised, so it just flies through. This is not a concentrating project for me anymore, and I would gladly make myself another Staffin vest. Maybe one without the texture. I just like the fit of it a lot, so maybe just a plain one. Who knows? Watch this space. My next finished object is this little beanie number 5. Let me show you. This is a wedding present for a friend of mine's fiance. Her fiance is such a wonderful man, he's so lovely, and I thought he deserved a little knitted present as well for their wedding. This is, yeah, beanie number 5 by My Favourite Things Knitwear, and I've knitted it in 2 colours of Drops Alpaca. I tried to get this melange effect, sort of like in the melange sweater or something like that. I don't know how well it's worked. I think there's quite a lot of the wheat colour in it rather than the green. I was hoping there'd be a bit more green, but it's very soft. I'm hoping he'll really like it and it'll keep him very warm. The brief when I asked him what colours he liked was anything in a neutral and also greens. So there we are. As I've said before, green is nature's neutral. Very firmly stand by that. Yeah, this was a quick one, and such a nice kind of feel to knit as well. The fabric is so soft that it just was very motivating to get it finished. And also just when you're gift knitting, especially for a big event in someone's life like a wedding, thinking about the person who's going to receive it and being just very delighted for them. So yeah, this one will be wrapped up and given to him on their wedding day. So I've reached the age now where everyone I know seems to be getting engaged, which is terrifying because it seems like everyone has been thinking about marriage and that has snuck up on me. So that's where we are. My final finished object for this month is my Quilty Cabin socks by Horsefeather Fibre Arts. I joined the knit along that was run by a few podcasters here on YouTube, and it was so sweet. It was a nice group on Instagram of people sharing their finished objects, sharing tips, especially for trying to get the tension right. I definitely found tension on these was a bit of a struggle. I'm not sure how well you can see. I've got kind of bits of the floats where I've carried them. Bits of where I've carried the floats are showing through, and the colourwork is quite tight. It's hard to get it over my heel. Not impossible, but difficult. So I think these might be more of an admiring project than a frequent wearing project, because it is just a bit of a battle. I do, however, love the yarn that I used. This is Garthenor Snowdonia sock, which I bought at the Woolly Good Gathering in the colour Sundew. Look at the depth of that. There are so many different kind of golden brown shades in this. It was beautiful, and it's such a rustic, no nylon, non-superwash sock yarn as well. I used some leftovers of just a 4-ply in cream. It, I believe, is Teeswater yarns for the motifs. Did 2. Now, the pattern that I used for this was a mashup of the actual pattern and my standard vanilla sock pattern. So I cast on 56 stitches for my size and did it on 2.5mm needles, and then went up to a 3mm needle for the colour work. And then as soon as I got past the colour work, following the chart in the official pattern, just switched to my regular vanilla sock pattern. I've got it all written up in a Notion page with tick boxes. It just is very straightforward, very easy. There's not really much pattern reading needed. So yeah, and I like the heel turn in that. That's kind of a pattern extrapolated from the Crazy Sock Lady's vanilla sock pattern on 9-inch circulars, which is my preferred method of sock knitting. But yeah, with kind of my numbers and maths and things like that thrown in. So yeah, these ones, very pretty, lovely to be part of the knit along. I don't know how often they will get worn, but I definitely will wear them. I try very hard to wear my knitted socks, and yeah, they do get a bit pilly and just very worn, because they're very, very, very hard-working socks. Now, moving on to my works in progress, the big theme for this month seems to be being a big brave girl and actually knitting my raglan projects and finishing things. So you may remember from previous episodes, I was really putting off working on my Amy sweater and my Cumulus blouse, which are both stuck at the raglan stage. I have got those back on the needles, they're back in progress, I can't let them sit in their project bags just lingering forever. So the Amy sweater is actually nearly finished. I'll just fold the collar so you can get the full effect. I finished the body, and I've started the first sleeve, which is now just over halfway through, and yeah, it's been a great project. Again, not much concentrating required, so very good for kind of public transport, seminars, things like that. The sleeve is taking longer than I thought. I thought I'd be done by the end of last week. Not a chance. But my plan for the rest of today is basically watch the Hunger Games and finish this. So we'll see if that actually happens. I ended up making some modifications to the pattern. I have not done the rolled edges on the ribbing on the neck or on the body, and I won't do it on the sleeves either. I also have left out some of the kind of pearl detailing that there is in the pattern, and it's just going to be a really straightforward 2x2 rib raglan turtleneck. I think this one is going to be beautiful to wear, but it's really boring to knit. The yarn makes up for it a lot. The yarn is World of Wool Fluff DK in the colour Hotel Bedding. They all have weird names, the word of World of Wool yarns, that don't really match the actual colour. I mean, maybe I'm just staying in the wrong hotels if the bedding is meant to be kind of this rich navy. I'll show you the colour up close. Just a navy blue with a lot of depth to it, a lot of richness. So I'll try and finish that today. Part of the reason being that the other sleeve is currently on hold with the barber cord that I need for a different raglan project, so gotta free that up. But yeah, very pleased with it. It'll be nice when it's done. It's just been really boring to knit. That's not a reflection on the quality of the pattern or anything. Like, obviously it's good quality, it's a petite knit pattern, they're always great. It's just a solid colour raglan stockinette. It'll look really nice when it's done. Drop me some motivation in the comments so that I actually do finish this. Next up is another raglan project, sticking to my theme. This is my Cumulus blouse, which I've split the sleeves off on, finished the raglan increases and started the body. Who is she? The colour of this comes up so red on camera, but it's actually more of a sort of pinky, orangey, dark salmon tone. Let's see if we can show you. It's still showing up very red. Have a look on Instagram or Ravelry if you want to see the actual colour. This is knitted in E-Saga Alpaca 1 and Alpaca 2 held together, which I got for free. My shop that I work at hosted a yarn swap. Someone brought with them Cumulus blouse quantity of these two yarns, and I just kind of went, yes please. And yeah, the yarns again, so soft. This is going to be unbelievably warm for the weight of it. It's really light. I just find raglan increases very boring. I started this one in June 2024. It's nearly June 2025. Again, drop some motivation in the comments to help me get through finishing this one. I think once the Amy sweater is done, this will be my main sort of non-concentrating project that I'll take with me on public transport and things like that, because it really requires no brain engagement. I've never done an I-cord bind off or an applied I-cord, so that'll be a new skill when we get to that point, but until then, just mindless stockinette. So maybe a good one for cinema, things like that. Not that I go to the cinema that much. Maybe I ought to. To continue the theme of endless raglan projects, this is one where I'm trying to be really disciplined and not let it get to the stage where I give up and let it sit in a project bag for a year. Such a classic move for me on a raglan. This is the Rhabarber shirt by Lydia Rhabarber, whose patterns are so beautiful, and her Instagram feed is just very soothing. Like all of the colours and the outfits, I just think it's a very calming, like well curated Instagram page. Anyway, this is my Rhabarber shirt. I'm doing the short sleeve version with ribbing rather than an I-cord. I have cast on for the smallest size. This might turn out to be a mistake. The bust circumference, finished bust circumference for this is 100 centimetres, and 92 centimetre bust, that should be 8 centimetres of ease. We'll see if that is enough. I think it probably will be for a t-shirt. This is knit in Drops Cotton Merino. Never used this yarn before, but I'm quite liking it. I usually try and avoid superwash yarns because I just don't love how unpredictable they are, and I don't like that they're chemically treated. But for a summer shirt, I thought, you know what, it's going to need machine washing, so maybe worth using a superwash. I knit the German short rows. I don't think this was massively clear in the pattern, but maybe it's just not the way my brain works. I chatted it through with my friend Sophie and both of us were a bit confused, but again it might just be that that doesn't quite click with our styles. But the German short rows are in. I think they're right, they seem like they fit, and this is what I'll be spending much of this week knitting, trying to force myself to get through the raglan increases. I'm on about 5 repeats of the 2 rows of raglan increases to go before I can split for sleeves. This is what I need the barber cord from my Amy sweater for, so everything's sort of in a chain. We'll see if that figures out at some point. But I love the colour of this yarn. It's kind of rich, foresty green. Again, green, nature's neutral. It's a good colour for summer, I think. And I think this will go really well with all of my summer trousers, my shorts, just something kind of stylish and simple to wear as an extra layer. Yeah, I think I like Drops Cotton Merino. Great price. This cost about £12, so can't argue with the price. I don't know how I'm going to find the wool cotton blend for a summer yarn, but we'll see. Again, once this is past the raglan increases, this will be a totally mindless knit, just something I can get really into and not have to think about too much. And it so far has been keeping me very entertained. So that's my Rhabarber shirt. What other works in progress do I have? We have not very much to report on this one, to be honest. The start of another. So my next work in progress, not much to report on this one, just a tiny little kind of bracelet, is just a vanilla sock. This is knitted in Stoppelwolle Zauberball, which I'm so excited to try. I got this at the same yarn swap as I got my Cumulus blouse yarn, and it is so many cool colours. Look at this. And so far, that's all I've done. I cast this on while I was waiting to leave the house, and I haven't really done anything on it since. But I'm doing a twisted rib rather than my usual 2x2, so we'll see how that looks on the finished thing. I think it just adds a bit of definition in a very kind of colourful yarn. This one, I like the ethics that Stoppelwolle has a lot, and I'm excited to give it a go. I have another ball that my lovely friend Jen gave me for my birthday 2 years ago, so very excited to give this a go. Maybe my go-to sock yarn if I like it. We'll find out. Stay tuned for updates. And my final work in progress, a very long-term work in progress, is my Sweet Shop blanket, where I've nearly finished the first squares. I am loving knitting this. I think it's such a cool pattern. I love the yarns. The kind of motivation for it being called the sweet shop blanket is the feeling of being like a kid in a sweet shop where you're looking at your stash and you're picking out which skeins you're going to use for each of the squares, and I totally see that. I am currently using Baramu Wood Note in the colour Honeybee, just kind of 10 grams that I wound off my main skein to go in this square. So far we have some Drops Daisy left over from my Olga and 2 Adventures in Yarncraft leftovers. It's so much fun. If you're looking for a scrappy blanket project, this is the scrappy blanket of your dreams. I'm having so much fun making this, and if I didn't have so many other works in progress on the go, I would knit it all the time. It's going to take years for it to be finished, and I'm really into that. I think my PhD will be finished before this blanket is, and I kind of love that. It's also so nice knowing that when I have sort of 20 grams of a leftover DK skein, it's just going in the blanket. So at some point there'll be some Amy sweater leftovers, probably some leftovers from my Gran's vest, and I think definitely held double the leftovers from my Quilted Cabin socks. So it's just nice to kind of have a place to put all those things and have kind of a hint of lots of different projects all in one place. Love this blanket. I'm going to sew some ends in later today, be really disciplined, because I really don't want to get to the end of a potentially double bed size blanket and have all those ends to sew in. So yeah, if you're making one of these as well, I would love to hear what yarn you're using. My main yarn is Drops Charisma, I think in the colour Wheat, I want to say, which is just a very plain, neutral, kind of creamy colour. And it really shows off the others. It's also a superwash yarn. Again, I try to avoid that, but I think for a blanket it's probably worth having, especially because the town I live has a chronic moth problem and I want to be able to wash it. So there we go. So on to acquisitions. Like I said, I'm trying to be better at not buying so much yarn and knit with what I have. My stash is plentiful. And you know, it's nice to have kind of a library of yarn to dip into, and there's no better feeling really than wanting to start a project and realising you have yarn in stash and you can use for it. But everything in my stash does have a plan attached, so I feel a little bit better about having quite a lot of yarn. My first acquisition is obviously my Drops Cotton Merino. Already showed you that in a project. I have, I think, 5 balls of this, maybe 4. For my Rababa shirt. This will all get used for the Rababa shirts. This was sort of a, it arrived, I cast it on immediately kind of acquisition. It's a lovely colour. I think the colour range, the colour options of this are not great. I really wanted like a lovely rich burgundy, kind of really dark purpley browny red burgundy, but they don't have one, which is fine. What I will say about this, great budget option. This is colour 22, this nice green. It has kind of the cotton and the wool are a very slightly different shade of green, but I think that just gives it some kind of body, which is really nice. So that's my first acquisition. My second acquisition is yarn that I've been thinking about for so long. I went to the Woollygood gathering, I fell in love with this yarn, and I didn't get it, and I don't know why not. I think I was convincing myself that maybe it wasn't the right colour for me, or, you know, maybe it was outside of my budget, things like that. Both of those things may still be true, but I couldn't resist. I caved. It's so beautiful. The name is a bilingual pun. This is Riverknit's Autoschlüssel on their Neen DK base. Let me show you the colour because it is so gorgeous. It's this sort of rich, olivey, goldy, greeny. It's just, it's so beautiful. I'm so excited about knitting with this. It's really soft. It's a BFL, hand dyed in the UK, proper DK weight. I think what I'm going to do with it, I have 3 skeins. I think I'm going to knit a cloud top to wear as a slipover. I wear my cloud top mostly as a slipover anyway, and I like the kind of shape of it on me as a slipover. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And any leftovers will go into my sweet shop blanket. I am obsessed with it. I'm so excited to cast this on. It's not at the top of my queue right now, but oh, I'm so glad I went through it. My next acquisition is from a work trip. I recently went on a work trip to Switzerland, which was super fun. I love my job so much, and my job being my PhD, and I am lucky that I get to travel as part of that, and Switzerland is amazing. I'd never been before, and it was so cool to get to see somewhere else. I speak German, so language-wise, where I was, no issues, although Swiss Deutsch? Wow. Swiss German is challenging for me, and my very kind of North German understanding, but I loved the city. It was so green, so clean, the air felt really fresh, the river was beautiful, everything about it. Honestly, it was a struggle to come home. Anyway, I may have visited some yarn shops. I knew I wanted to go to Save the Yarn, which specialises in recycled yarn, and their kind of motto is every skein deserves a second chance, which is very cute. And I knew what I wanted from them, and that was their recycled cashmere in red. This is kind of a proper red. It looks, again, very vibrant, almost pink on camera, but it's very kind of classic, solid red. This is up to minimum of 51% recycled cashmere, and it's so soft. It's made in Italy, 125 meters per 50 grams, and my plan for this is to make a Sophie scarf to go with my Christmas jumper. Now, my mum and I had an arrangement this year that instead of giving me a Christmas present kind of in December, she would give me a Christmas present in March, and I would knit up that Christmas present, it being several balls of pig and a pattern, to wear for whenever my family meets up around the holidays. I'll put a picture in of the sweater in question, but I knew I just wanted to recreate the entire outfit, and part of that was a little red scarf, and I thought, treat yourself, make a cashmere Sophie scarf. Never done that before. I know the recommended yarn is a cashmere, but I'm so excited. I love it. Maybe the rest of this will go into my sweet shop blanket as well. And finally, another Switzerland acquisition. Very sheepy, very, very gorgeous yarn. So this is by Wollspinnerei Vetsch, which is a Swiss yarn producer. This is Swiss from sheep to skein. If you look really closely, you can see it still has grass in it from when it was on a sheep. Yeah, I knew I wanted to get something that was properly local, and this one was a great example. The lovely lady in the shop where I bought it, name has escaped me, I'll put it in the description, told me all about the sheep that it comes from, and this is their natural colour. It's sort of like very dark cocoa brown with kind of just little white bits as well. This is their natural colour. It's Engadina Dunkle. Engadina, I think, is the type, the breed of sheep. This is just stunning. It smells beautiful. It looks gorgeous. The plan is to make probably a Scylla slipover or some kind of slipover. It's a kind of sport to DK weight yarn. I think it'll be perfect for that pattern. I tried to make that last year, got my gauge totally wrong. It's way too big. So excited to try again with this beautiful yarn. I had never heard of Wollspinnerei Vetsch before, but I've looked into what they make since then, and it is beautiful and very reasonably priced. I love to support kind of local economies where I can, especially if I'm getting yarn as a souvenir, which for me is a great souvenir because I know I'll use it and I'll get something out of it that'll make me think about the trip all the time and where it's come from, and not just kind of the trip location, but also all the people and animals who've gone into producing that, and the cultures and kind of hundreds of years that have gone into making that happen. So always a good souvenir for me. I think that's it for my acquisitions. And finally, some media recommendations. I have not been watching a huge amount of TV lately, which is such a nice change. I'm a big fan of kind of broadcast media. I'm very fascinated by it. So I tend to watch quite a lot of TV. but I've been watching less than usual because I've been getting into audiobooks a lot more. I can read and knit at the same time if I'm doing something like my Cumulus blouse, just stocking it around, but for reading whilst knitting, audiobooks are the way forward. I've listened to 2 recently that I want to recommend. They're both kind of quite similar in theme, so it's interesting to compare the 2. They're both about sort of cults and sort of niche religious sects and things like that. The first is The Silence Project by Carol Haley. This is about a young woman whose mother, in some ways, accidentally starts a cult. And not just the impact on her family, but her life kind of throughout decades is kind of mapped by this book. It is fascinating and very gripping and raises a lot of issues about sort of white saviour complexes and women in kind of the global community, not just kind of in the place where this cult starts, and also the impact of social groups that exercise a lot of coercion and control. So I strongly recommend that. I borrowed it from my local library using the Libby app, which if you don't use it, get on it. It's so good. It's amazing to have access to free ebooks and free audiobooks. Libraries are amazing. I also have recently started using BookBeat, which is an audiobook app. My lovely friend Sophie of Baba Shirt fame recommended this to me and referred me. And on that, so far I've listened to The Wives of Halcyon by Irene Lapidaki, which was very similar in theme. It's about a more kind of conventional cult, but also about coercion and control and indoctrination, brainwashing, things like that. It is neither of them are an easy read. I would not recommend them if this kind of topic makes you feel uncomfortable or anything like that. But if you're feeling pretty up to it, then I strongly recommend them as really gripping novels. They're incredible, and just very kind of focused on women as well, which is nice. So yeah, I think those are my only media recommendations. My plans for the rest of the day are to relax. It's a bank holiday here in the UK, which means kind of shops are shut, people don't have to go to work, things like that. But because I work a PhD, my hours are basically my own to choose, and my partner is trying very hard to convince me that I need to take more days off, which I think is very fair as a criticism or an encouragement, really. So I'm actually taking today off for once, which is very exciting, and I'm going to spend it largely knitting and watching some films. I am going to watch The Hunger Games, which I haven't watched since I was a child, and just have some time to myself. It was a very busy weekend. It was a lovely weekend. We went to a wedding and I saw some friends I haven't seen in years, so it was amazing. But it's now time to just kind of be a bit quiet, have a little rest. I might do some baking. I'll definitely do a lot of knitting. We'll see how far I get with my Rababa shirt, my Amy sweater, and maybe I'll wind up some new yarn for a new project. Who knows? Oh, I meant to tell you about a plan for a sweater. I'm going to cast on a new sweater tomorrow. I've got yarn arriving in the post. I know I should be finishing things, but I really want this finished by the time summer comes around properly, because I think it is the perfect summer evening sweater, and that is the Finest Kind sweater by Alicia Plummer. This is a Rhinebeck pattern. I'm not going to Rhinebeck. I just can't afford to go to Rhinebeck. It's a long way away. It's expensive. I am saving up for other things. One day I would love to go to Rhinebeck, but unfortunately this year is not that year. But this sweater is there's something about it that is just so appealing and so cozy. Perfect kind of wearing over shorts and sneakers or Birkenstocks, or putting on with jeans and a baseball cap. Like, this is proper summer wear. I'm very excited to give it a go. It is bottom up. This is not my preferred method of construction. I have knit it before. I don't love it because I like having complete control over the length, but the pattern seems very clear, very informative. My yarn is arriving tomorrow, so expect some updates on this in the next podcast episode. But for now, I hope you're having a lovely month I'm really enjoying putting these episodes out monthly. I think that's a good timeline for me. I hope that you're doing really well with your knitting and you're seeing friends and treating yourself and just being really kind to yourself. And tell me in the comments what you're working on, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!